Hello, welcome to the Analyst Inside Cricket with me, Simon Hughes at Headingley.
And me, some man in London.
Have you enjoyed the day so far, Simon? I've had a great time actually. I was on the Western Terrace for a while. Actually, I went to watch Harry Brook get his 100 because I thought local lad, it'd be brilliant to sit in amongst the Western Terrace and cheer with all the locals when Harry got to his 100. So I went to into the Western Terrace probably when he needed about five to get there, and he inched his way forwards, and he was on 99, and I had my video camera ready for the moment when all the Western Terrace went, up, standing on their chairs, cheering, and oh, it was a bit of an anticlimax. It was almost a sort of pin drop situation, actually. They couldn't believe it when Harry hooked that one down to fine leg on 99 and had to walk off. I mean, it was a stunned silence, if there can ever be a silence on the Western Terrace. What did you think
Well,
of it?
well, I'm surprised that they couldn't believe it because Harry Brook was on the high wire throughout his innings, wasn't he? I mean, it was a stunning innings, but I mean, he had a tremendous amount of luck. Yeah, did he deserve 100? Well, if you score three figures, you deserve it, I suppose. But I mean, it was a flawed innings, but magnificent to watch as well at the same time. India costly drops, and we'll know the final reckoning on Tuesday evening. Really, how much it's going to cost them. But so I didn't totally surprise me that he was out because that was the way he was playing. He was taking it on. He was taking lots of risks. And sometimes it was coming off, and sometimes India were reprieving him. It's amazing, isn't it, how you can get a ball like that outside the off stump and you can hit it straight to the fielder who's 65 yards away. I mean, it's incredible, really. And he just needed the one run. I suppose there was me just thinking, just duck underneath it. Just wait for a push into the onside or a push into the offside. Take the single. You didn't need to take it on, but they do. And that, I mean, that's the way he plays is thrilling, and it's going to be frustrating for some of his supporters over the time, but it's also going to captivate them as well, as we've seen so far in his Test match career.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, of course, it encapsulated a very exciting day, and also the way again that the fortunes ebbed and flowed as they do. Always at Headingley. Always mustn't ever take your eye off the ball at Headingley because it promises wall to wall entertainment, and it was again today. So we started the day with England 34% chance of victory and India 39. So India sort of just marginal favourites with England at 207 for three. And then, of course, England managed to get up to that India score, 6-run deficit in the end, having got to 465 all out. So they did pretty well, England, didn't they, actually? Cobbled it together. May have actually been able to get a few more. But the Betfair odds then sort of slid rather more in England's favour. And especially when England got that early wicket of Jaiswal in the second innings, it went up to England 40% chance of victory. But then India sort of struck back in that last half hour or so, managed to get close to 100. KL Rahul looking very strong at the crease in this second innings. And so now India just shading it again, 44% chance of victory. India's just slight favourites. It's a mug's game trying to predict the outcome, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it's worth doing because there are so many variables over the next 2 days, and we're in. I mean, it's been a belting Test match, hasn't it? It's been a brilliant start to the series. Each day has had its talking points and its fascinations, and today was no different. What do we have in the day? 356 for nine. I made it in the day's play, and you'd be you're right. You'd be a mug to predict what's going to happen in the next 2 days of this game. My hunch is that just a hunch that I think India are in a reasonable position, and the match will probably swing on how quickly and how cheaply England can get rid of KL Rahul, Shubman Gill, and Rishabh Pant in India's second innings. Those are the key wickets, and how many of those three players score. Obviously, India do have some other batters as well, but it seems that is the key contest tomorrow. Those three, target those three, and I thought KL Rahul was magnificent tonight. Just used all his experience, played some glorious strokes. I didn't think he looked like getting out. I thought he just looked so secure. So that's a problem for in England tomorrow. Yeah, he actually looks nailed on for 100. I'll say that, give it the old commentator's curse. He looks nailed on for 100. He looks nailed on for 150. But he does, doesn't he? I mean, he looks so
Yeah,
solid.
yeah,
He
he
does.
does. He's a fine player, isn't he? He does suit these conditions as well because you have to be selective, but good technique is something that is definitely something that profits a player here. If you've got good technique, you're going to get runs, and if you haven't, you'll probably get found out. So that's I suppose where Hull has an advantage. So a poignant day to start with, wasn't it today?
Yeah.
Uh, a very sad message was transmitted to the ground just before 11 this morning. The tragic news of Sid Lawrence's death, which just hung like a pall over the whole proceedings. And you and I did an event with on his behalf or on behalf of the MND cause earlier in the week in Bristol, and you could feel the love for Sid at that live event that we had in Bristol, and you could feel the love for Sid today as well. But it was a very sad moment, and actually, perhaps there was a round of applause rather than a minute's silence. There was a round of applause for his career, his life, his brave fight against MND,
Well,
and his tremendous fight against the terrible disease as well. And it was a poignant start to the day. And then, wow, we had 2 hours of exhilarating batting from Harry Brook, a kind of combination of, well, a bit of Kevin Peterson in there, a bit of Rishabh Pant, and a bit of Ian Botham actually as well, who of course played an incredible innings here in 1981. Some of the shots that Harry Brook plays off the back foot, sort of balls that are a bit wide outside off and slightly short, that he flays through the offside, were very reminiscent of Botham in that extraordinary innings he played here in 1981, sort of on the up and hitting it sort of slightly in the air. And not a bad ball from a length point of view, but just a bit wide, and he's able to carve them away. Down the wicket to Bumrah early on to hit him back over extra cover. That was very Kevin Peterson. Some sort of remarkable falling ramp shots and flicks and things like that, and then a couple of shots he hit the fast bowler Siraj back over his head into the rugby stand, a straight six off a good length ball. Absolutely extraordinary. Went miles, and it was a sort of 88-mile-an-hour ball, just deposited back as if it was an off spinner. Absolutely amazing player. What do you think?
yeah, I thought it was an extraordinary shot, that one. I agree with you. It was as though he was just planting the off spinner back over its head into the rugby stand. Extraordinary stroke. I thought kind of what the over or the sequence that encapsulated his innings today was very early on when Prassi Krishna was bowling to him, and he went a big swish outside the off stump, miss, and then he creamed in for four and then pulled him for six. It kind of summed it up. It was that was his innings today. It was kind of high wire act. He took a risk. Could easily have nicked it, but then next one went for four. The one after that went for six, and yeah, he played that remarkable shot where he danced down the pitch and slapped Jasprit Bumrah through extra cover, and then later on that duel with Siraj, and he didn't take kindly to it. Well, no pace bowler would really, being slapped back over your head, and also just being treated with disdain. He was hitting the ball so hard as well. I mean, look, Brook won that duel, didn't he? But he was lucky. He was dropped on 46 by Pant off Jadeja. I thought that was quite a difficult chance for a keeper, because it just turned and bounced to it, took the shoulder of the bat. He was kind of taking it up, trying to take it up here. So you get to maneuver the hands. It all happens so quickly. I mean, the more straightforward one was Jaiswal's drop at four slip when Brook had 82. I mean, that really should have been taken. And India missed some chances in this game. And,
Yeah,
look, we don't know if it's going to cost them or not. I mean, they are ahead in the game at the moment. So, they're not in a bad position, not by any means. They've got this lead of 96. They've got 8 wickets left. England are going to have to bat last on a pitch that's just a little bit up and down and offering something for the spinner. But India
yeah,
dropped significant catches. And, Duckett was a reprieve. Brook was reprieve. Pope was reprieve. And you top them all up, it's a lot of runs that India
It's over 100 actually.
Yeah.
It's 112 runs, I think we worked out in the press box today. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, they let them get away with it. So, but then later on, Duckett dropped one as well. So perhaps it's not such an
Yeah.
easy seeing ground. I think he said, didn't he? I think they picked up on the stump line. I didn't pick it up. But I mean, it looked a relatively straightforward chance for this level. It was a cut
Mm.
shot from side to Darson, and Duckett was quite deep in the gully. He was almost sort of deep backward point or deep gully. He had two goes out and spilled it. And it's one of those. It's in the breadbasket. You'd expect to catch it, but a few have gone down in this match, and it may well be that the sighting for the players is not that good. That might be one reason for it, or one reason to
Well, I
explain
think
it.
it may be that. It may be the sighting. It may also be the fact that it's a ground where if you do get a wide ball, you actually have a go at it and really try and hit it hard and sort of slice it and add a bit of pace to the ball almost. And so they're coming fast, some of those chances. I mean, admittedly, the fielders are quite far back from the crease or from the batsman, but still they're coming pretty quick. So that's another perhaps half excuse, but no excuse if we start our Betfair exchange today, our debate about an issue which we may not agree on, over, in your view, Jamie Smith's shot. As I said, Jamie Smith came in after Ben Stokes had played an iffy sort of innings, and I must say actually that I feel quite strongly that Ben Stokes should have played some cricket before this, some batting, because his batting rhythm just looked out. He didn't look in touch. He battled away. He got to 20, played a few not very nice reverse sweeps actually off Jadeja, but he just didn't look convincing to me. He played a horrible little fiddle shot on 20 and edged a catch behind. And you just need to bat in match situations to get that rhythm and that flow and that momentum and that footwork and that concentration as well. I don't think you can replicate that in the nets. And it's a long time since he's played. It's over a year since he's played a long, determined type Test match innings or first class innings. So I feel that he's lacking a bit of match practice there, even though I'm sure he's put lots of work in the nets. So anyway, he'd gone for 20. Then Jamie Smith came in and played all sorts of amazing shots. Very aggressive, wasn't he? And played some beautiful shots. Played one or two risky shots, but then they tried the bouncer tactics. They stepped the field back. They put four men on the leg side boundary and a couple on the offside boundary. No one in front of the wicket. They bounced him once. He hit an enormous six, miles over deep square leg, and then he tried it again, and he failed. And you didn't like that, did you?
Well, the thing I just couldn't understand the shot. He hit 1 for 6 in the over, and yeah, look, it's fine to play it in that way, take it on. That's the way he plays, and he's an exciting player. And I actually really love watching him. And he actually also hit some crunching drives that went straight to fielders as well. He was hitting it hard and timing it well. The thing I just didn't make any sense is it was the last over of the old ball. So in very soon, Jasper Bumrah was going to come steaming in with the new red ball, and he was out just before it. And I thought I was actually as I was watching it, he hit 1 6, and he actually nailed it. But I was saying, don't take it on, don't take it on, don't. And he takes it on, and he gets caught on the deep square leg boundary. It's a brilliant bit of relay catching out there, very impressive. Jadeja and Sai Darson. I just didn't think he played the moment very well. And England have talked about this, haven't they? They've talked about actually sometimes playing smarter cricket, playing moments, playing passages of play a bit better. So I was thinking of poor old Chris Wokes, who actually came out and played well, but he was sitting, he hasn't had a lot of cricket as well, hadn't had a lot of time in the middle of the bat. He was sitting up in the dressing room, knowing the new ball was just around the corner. And Jamie Smith and Harry Brook were playing well and dominating, and actually taking advantage of that 10 over spell before the new ball. But I thought just when he got to that point, was it really worth the risk? I didn't see it from a cricketing point of view. I didn't see the cricket nice in the shot. Perhaps you just can't help yourself. I don't know, but I just thought go underneath it. Just go underneath it with the rest of the over. Make sure you survive, and then the fields might be up with a new ball. You haven't got four on the leg side boundary. You're more spaces. They're more attacking fielders for the new ball. Then you can perhaps have a go at the new ball.
So would you have given him a bollocking then?
Well, that's not the way, is it? It's not the way to do that these days.
No, but would you? I'm saying, would you have given him if you were the coach now? Would you have given him a bollocking, or would you waited a bit of time until a suitable moment?
Um, well, look, it's a pointless question in a way because A, I'm not, and B, I never would be. But I might say, at a moment later in the match or after the game, what was your thinking there? Why did you do that at that particular point? I might just put that thought into his mind. So no,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Look, I just feel that he'd hit one and he did it miles, and he was looking really good. I mean, maybe he's a bit of a compulsive hooker. It's always hard to duck underneath the ball. I think it's also good when you get a short ball to get in a position to try and attack it rather than just duck wantonly. If you get in a position to try and attack it, then you can pull out if you want to, sort of thing. But I think he was just committed to attacking it. The other thing you won't know, there was a strong wind helping him, and he was hitting with the wind. And although it's a big boundary out there to deep square leg towards the big screen, actually the wind was really helping him. So I sort of see why he took it on. I mean, it was a shame with the brilliance of the fielding that in the end took his wicket away. But I don't know. I suppose with the old ball, England were on a bit of a roll. They were getting sort of 5 or 6 and over at that point. So I suppose I thought it was worth a go, and it didn't come off.
yeah. There were 349 for five as he played that shot, so they were still, about 120 runs behind with 5 wickets left. The new ball was there. I think as you get right to that new ball, you just pull your horns in a bit and just give yourself an opportunity, because it's not easy for those coming in. Having said that, Chris Woakes played really well. I thought he actually played a couple of shots that reminded me of Harry Brook himself. There was one rasping pulled through mid wicket, and then an uppercut before next ball. They were tremendous shots, and you can see. I think you can see that with Chris sometimes. But when he plays a shot that he really likes, you can see it on his face. It was like, oh my goodness, I just did you see that shot I just played? He almost surprises himself a little bit with how well he nailed those two. And they were vital runs for England. And it was a really useful partnership with Bryden Cast as well. They kept England in touch with India's first innings score. But as you said, I think you alluded to it earlier. I think, England, they might have got a lead. They might have got a few more, but no, it was it was fantastic excitement. 465 runs in 100.4 overs. Again, we said it yesterday. Anyone was there today will have got full value for money, even though it was cut short a bit, wasn't it? There was about, I think, 15 overs knocked off the day's play. There was some weather at the end, and the over eight was a bit slow. But I mean, 356 for nine in the day, and that's pretty good.
Of course, if you were listening to us yesterday, you would have heard me say that the Betfair odds for Bumrah to take 5 wickets in the innings was 4-5. So odds on, basically. And sure enough, he did it. And by the way, if you are interested in following these sort of odds, remember you can only bet if you're 18 and over, and also be gamble aware. And actually, it's also worth saying, these odds are only actually accurate at the time of recording, so they do fluctuate, of course. But Bumrah, odds on to get 5 wickets, and he just polished England off in the end. He bowled some magnificent balls which didn't get wickets, but then it was almost inevitable that he'd finish the innings off with those two to get five for and hold the ball up. I mean, I just wonder what India are going to do if he hasn't, if he doesn't play a couple of these test matches. I really do, because the other bowlers, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. It's such a difficult place to bowl at Headingley if you haven't got absolute precise control of your length. And the Indian other fast bowlers got a bit carried away with lots of bouncers and trying to bowl too fast, actually. I mean, what you want when your tail enders, like you were saying, Woakes and Brian Cast and so on, are playing shots, what you want is a calm head and actually maybe the odd bouncer, but a slower ball or two. Because, batters down the order are getting into a rhythm, they're swinging the bat, they're enjoying themselves, they're having some fun. Actually, just mess around with their timing. A couple of slower balls, and one will go straight up in the air. It might go for six, but it might also go straight up in the air. So there was just a little bit of sort of naivety in the Indian bowling there, which the only Bumrah and obviously Jadeja were able to counteract. Well, I'm afraid Shubman Gill missed a trick because he should have bowled Jadeja much earlier. If Jadeja had bowled from one end and he perhaps rotated the seams from the other, he would have had much better control because Jadeja, even in that onslaught from Wokes and Cass, Jadeja was bowling, overs for two and things like that when he eventually came on. So I think Shubman Gill missed an opportunity there to just use Jadeja in a holding way, and he might even have taken the wickets. So, India with a rather wanton batting performance later on in their first innings and then also some negligence with the ball really have given England handed England back the advantage that India had seized with 430 for three. Now it's a one innings game, and India can really only blame themselves. They've given England a lot of help, both with poor batting in their first innings and poor catching, and some rather sort of erratic, irascible bowling later on in England's innings.
Yeah, no, I think all Indian supporters feel the same as you. What are we going to do when Jasprit Bumrah's not playing for us? And they do have some other options in their squad. They did strengthen it just before the Test match. Actually, they brought Harshit Rana into their squad. They've got Arshdeep Singh. They've got Akash Deep as well as the bowlers on display here. Birmingham is the next Test match. I mean, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Birmingham is the next Test match. There's a bit of a gap between the first and second games of a week. I was talking to Deep Das Gupta at Lords during the World Test Championship final. He was saying, I wonder whether Bumrah might play 4 matches rather than just three. And they talked about him playing in 3 games. He said, for example, if the series is on the line, is he not going to play at the Oval? He probably will. But I mean, are they thinking 1, 3, and 5 with those other 2 matches off? The reason I mentioned Birmingham is because it can get quite dry there. And it has been very dry, and I just wonder whether I mean, England won't want there to be a spinning pitch in this series at all. I don't think they want that. I don't think they want Kuldeep Yadav to come into it. But I wonder whether Kuldeep Yadav might come into it. India might have to rejig their attack. But yeah, and it did look Bumrah and the rest, didn't it, in this first innings?
Yeah,
He took
definitely.
5 for 83. Siraj 2 for 122. He looked quite hittable, and England took him on. And Prasad Krishna 3 for 120. He has got a bit of pace, Prasad Krishna though. He gets it down high 80s, and and produced wickets as a result of that. When England did take him on. And I think the one thing about this Indian bowling attack is if they can just show some discipline in the lines and lengths they bowl, England will give them a chance because England do take it on. I think as a fielding side, a bowling side, I don't think there's a moment where you just go, oh, this partnership's going to develop. We just have to hang in here. I think you always feel as if you're in the game with England. The ball is disappearing here, there, and everywhere. But you should always tell yourself as a slip catcher, gully catcher, bowler, I could get a wicket here because England opened themselves up to play that way. Ollie Pope 100 yesterday. Slapped a ball early on today. It wasn't a great delivery, and he was out, wasn't he? Caught behind by Pant. That felt like. I mean, I think as he walked off, he felt that was quite a soft dismissal. And then we saw Jamie Smith, and we saw Harry Brook caught in the deep. So there are wickets on offer for this Indian bowling side if they can perhaps tighten up, if they can just find the line that will just tempt England to keep on playing, but also get them to nick off as well. And then, of course, if they do that, they have to take the catches. But I mean, yeah, look,
The thing
you do
is,
fear a
yeah,
bit. You do fear a
yeah.
bit for India without Jasprit Bumrah. I
Mm.
agree, definitely, and I think that's why
The
England
thing,
started
the,
the series as favourites.
the thing is with Bumrah, because he's got such fantastic control of movement through the air, he can afford to bowl the ball a bit fuller, and there is something there for him. And that batsmen are, understandably, mostly a bit more cautious when they're playing him because the ball has that sort of ability when he lets go of it to sort of snake past the edge. The other bowlers haven't quite got that, skillness of movement that Bumrah has. That deception, and so when they pitch it up, they get driven, and then they drag their length back and they get cut. There's very little margin for error here at Headingley, unless you can bowl the ball which can just move a little bit in the air quite late and off the pitch, and that's what Bumrah has at his disposal. So, okay, 90 for 2 India in their second innings, 96 lead. What do we think is a sort of chaseable target for England? I know that's the $1 million question, but they got 362, didn't they, for 9 against Australia here in 2019? That amazing game. What about? I mean, I reckon 300 is gettable. There is that some bit of turn. Jadeja found some today, but it's not consistent. It's not at the moment dangerous. I think it will develop. I think there'll be some more dry patches. One or two have lifted up a length from the seamers, but it's still a really good pitch. So I would say 300 chase would be in England's range if they can bowl India out for, well, 270 or something like that. What do you think?
Well, I think England could possibly chase 300. I think that definitely brings India into the game with Jasprit Bumrah in their side. You just don't know what he's capable of. He could completely wreck England's second innings, and others could come to the party as well. I think this is the point about batting last. How is the pitch going to play? Because that match you're talking about against Australia, I think was finished on the fourth day, didn't it? Well, this is going to be England's chase is going to be on the fifth day. You'd think. So there might be a bit more variable bounce, and there might be a bit more spin for Jadeja in that final innings. I don't think it'd be straight. I don't think 300 would be straightforward for England. Look, India would love to get 350, wouldn't they? On Betfair, the India runs line for their second innings is 340.5 to 343.5, and I think if they achieve that, I think that's going to be quite a tough chase for England. 350, even with the way they play, they're going to be playing under pressure. And it won't be easy. But look, this whole match has been difficult to predict. You might well thought that England were out of it after the first day. 359 for 3. India got the great chance to score 600, and good luck with that. And England have dragged themselves back into the match. They might knock over 3 first thing tomorrow morning, and suddenly it's 120 for 5 effectively. They won't be chasing that 300 plus score. But there's so much in the melting pot. I got a question for you, Yoz. If you could use a super sub in this match, would you substitute out Shardul Thakur, who hasn't batted, of course, yet, but can make some useful runs down the order? Would you substitute him out for Kuldeep Yadav? Would you bring Kuldeep Yadav in? Would that be a no-brainer tactical substitution at this stage? I know they have them in the IPL. We don't have them yet in Test matches, apart from for concussion. Would that be the change that you would make?
Yes, I think probably it would. I think that's a good call, actually, because I think spin will be more valuable later in the game. I mean, actually, Shoaib Bashir tonight bowled a couple of nice overs, but went past the edge of the bat and looked as if he had a threat. And Jadeja certainly had Harry Brook dropped and turned a few. So yeah, I don't think Shardul Thakur will play a big role in the run chase. I mean, he didn't play much of a role in the match already, has he? Really, he hasn't bowled much. They haven't used him particularly well. I think he's bowled at bad times, but I can't see him being that effective. So yeah, I agree. An extra spinner would have been valuable. Obviously, you don't know when you pick your team that you're going to be fielding last, do you? So it's difficult to predict whether you're going to need an extra spinner or an extra seamer. But in hindsight, probably they wish they'd been able to have a second spinner. So how do we see the game? Well, Betfair reckon, as I said at the start, England 40% chance of winning, India 44%. So it's pretty much in the balance. And I like Rishabh Pant, 15-2 to be India's leading run scorer. Coming in when the ball's a little bit softer and playing the way he does, I can sort of see another dynamic 60 from Rishabh Pant in an India overall score of about 270, setting England about 275 to win. That would be a great game, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah. But what you got to remember, Yoz, is if Rishabh Pant only gets 60, that's not going to be enough to be top scorer. Because remember, KL Rahul is nailed on for 100.
Oh, well, good point. Good point. But if KL doesn't make it to 100 and Rishabh comes in and, all right, let's say makes 70 odd, I can see 75 being the highest score in this second innings. Rahul will make a mistake. He always does. He always just gives it away just when you think he's on top. He plays a loose drive or something. So I reckon 50 odd for Rahul, early wicket tomorrow, Pant to save the day, get them to 270. England to chase it down with 2 wickets in hand. How about that?
Well, that would be some game, wouldn't it? Look, we've had some belters heading in recent years. West Indies had that great run chase, didn't they? Not so long ago, where they won by 5 wickets, chasing over 300 to win. England chased that 360 against Australia. Last year against Australia, they chased around about 250 and won by 3 wickets. I reckon once you get 300 plus, I don't know, it perhaps it's just feeling that old school feeling. I think that feels quite a lot on this surface with the Bumrah. I think that it's the Jasprit Bumrah factor as well, and Jadeja on a last day pitch, and India, sensing something. Uh, there's a little thought in my mind that India have to win this Test match. I mean, if they lose here, then I think this series could be quite tough for them, especially if Bumrah's not going to play all the matches. There's lots of vulnerability there. But then, Ben Stokes has got a bowling attack, which he's probably got, trying to coax 8 wickets out of tomorrow. It's not the best England attack ever, is it? And I think Shoaib Bashir's got a big role to play. I thought he actually bowled a really poor first over tonight. He was a bit too short, but then he got it together. And so I think he's got a big role to play tomorrow on the fourth day. So yeah, he needs to come into the match tomorrow for England. It seems to me, but there is something there to work with. I mean, it's been a brilliant game. If the last 2 days were anything like the first three, we're in for something special again. Whoever wins,
Yeah.
it's very hard to predict who's going to win the game. I think I'd probably prefer to be in India's position at the moment, but you can still see England. Yeah, there's a possibility of England taking them down, definitely. What about the draw? Is it no chance of a draw? I mean, if India
Well,
batted
it's
all
40,
day
it's
tomorrow,
about 16%, isn't it? So a little bit unlikely. And the weather, I think, is going to be okay tomorrow. We lost a little bit of time tonight, but I think the weather looks reasonable tomorrow. So with the
so here's the
floodlights
thing,
on, maybe.
Jos. So here's the thing, just before we do go. So if India were to bat all day tomorrow, say, and rack up a lead of 420, would England try to chase that on the final day? Would that be a sensible thing to do? Perhaps that's something for us to consider tomorrow if India do manage to get into that position. But do you see what I mean? So would therefore England then be compelled
I,
to bat for a draw because it would be beyond them if India set them 420, 450. Surely that would be beyond them, wouldn't it?
well, look, they said that, Bazball needs a little bit of nuancing, didn't they, at the beginning of this summer? So maybe that'll be the nuance. That they'll see how it goes for a couple of sessions if they're back chasing a huge target, and then play it by ear. They'll cross that bridge when they come to it. Well, we'll see anyway. Just to say, thanks to Betfair for supporting this podcast. And as I said earlier, the odds are only current at the time of going to press, if you like. Please be gamble aware and only bet if you're 18 or over. And we'll be back at this time tomorrow to review the fourth day's play.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye for now.